Hey everyone, welcome to Figuring Out Fabric, where I ask dumb questions and you get smart answers. And I've got Frank here.
Yeah, probably smart answers.
Yeah, well, hopefully, yeah, fingers
Yes,
crossed, right?
yeah.
For like,
We have
um,
not rehearsed, so I'm really looking forward to your questions, Eugene.
yeah. So we're gonna talk about real-time intelligence, and
Yes.
I guess the first question is just about the landscape because as someone who's never had to mess with it,
Mhm,
I know about some of the pieces that were in Azure before that are probably unrelated.
mhm.
So I did a course on Azure Event Hubs. I played around with
Yes.
streaming analytics,
Yes.
but now with Fabric, I hear people constantly talking about Kusto. So they decided they
Yes.
needed a whole new querying language for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, yeah. Maybe I
um,
can explain.
yeah, and then everybody got so jealous of putting the word house on things that they made event houses. So
Yes.
that's about my understanding. So give me like the lay of the land here.
Okay. So, well, if we're talking about fabric, then everything is stored in one lake, right? Everything apart from all the things real-time intelligence because if you're using real-time intelligence, then all the data that you get will be first of all stored in a KQL database. Uh, so maybe you know the technology KQL or Azure Data Explorer, which was a technology before this. So maybe the very first thing when KQL became a thing was when we were talking about log analytics. Have you ever worked with log analytics, Eugene?
Um, I've seen Chris Webb blog posts about it, so
Okay,
it's on my
okay,
to-do because that's one
okay.
of the best ways to get out Power BI kind of logging and stuff. So,
Yeah, exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So the thing was when Microsoft was building this Azure thing, right? Back in the days, they were thinking about, okay, maybe with all the services, with all the machines, with everything infrastructure, we will get a huge, 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 huge load of logs, and we have to have some technology to capture these logs and to analyze these logs because they are using the KQL capabilities internally as well to just monitor their Azure environment, right? And when they started, they were researching the market and they didn't find anything which was capable to do this. And so they came up with the idea to say, well, okay, if there is nothing like this, and this was, I don't know when it was, like 2013 or something like this, they were like, okay, so we have to invent something ourselves. And so what they did is they invented the KQL databases and the KQL language, and they did this to analyze really, really, really vast amount of data. I can, Eugene, I can give you an example. And
Yeah,
I did a talk with Devang Shah. Greetings go out to Devang
I do.
in Munich this year, and or last year in 2024.
Uh-huh.
And what we did is we were talking a little bit about Custo KQL databases and stuff like this. And then Devang did a very, very um, interesting example that just blew my mind. He said, first of all, what he said was he was getting a count on all log entries of all KQL databases worldwide. The number was like this, right? And it was a number I really didn't even know how to pronounce this number, but it was a number with 4,000 separators, 4,000 separator points in it, right? This was a complete count of all KQL database logs worldwide. And then he said, Frank, you have a KQL cluster as well, right? I said, yes, I have. And he said, can you please give me the ID of the cluster? And I said, yeah, I can give it to you. So I gave him the ID of the cluster, and within a second, he had the logs from my cluster, from this vast amount of data. And this is what KQL is all about. It's all about having a vast amount of data and to do analytics on top of this data. And I think this is a number I can share as well because we talked about this on different conferences as well,
Mhm.
is so have a guess. So Eugene, you have a guess. How how much
Oh, no.
data from Microsoft and from all the clients is ingested into KQL each day?
Each day.
Each
Okay.
day.
Oh, that should be easy. I'm well, this is a trick question, it has to be big, so I'm gonna say 100 petabytes.
Yeah, well, no. 300, but at the least the range is okay. So
Yeah.
it's 350 petabytes
Okay,
each
alright,
day. Each
order of
day.
magnitude, I was within an order of
Yeah,
magnitude,
yeah,
okay, yeah.
yeah, yeah. The magnitude was okay, but I think this is mind blowing, right? If you
Yeah.
think about 350 petabytes a day, and so this is what this is all about. And if we're and coming back now to Fabric,
Yeah.
so if we're thinking about things like IoT, like data streams, right? Then what you do in Fabric with real-time intelligence is that you build an event house. You already talked about this. An event house
Yeah.
is nothing more than a container for KQL databases. So what you can put into an event house is one or more KQL databases.
Mhm.
And what you can do then is you can then stream your data from wherever your data stream is into this KQL databases. And the thing is that because of the real-time aspect of this, right?
Yeah.
It's better to stream this into KQL databases than, for example, into the data lake. And
Yes.
if we stream data in the data lake, it would be so you can do this as well. So, for example, what you can easily build with event streams is that you can build a lambda architecture where you have some data going
Okay.
to the KQL databases and the same data going to the data lake for archiving purposes or stuff, right? And but the thing is that the data which goes to the KQL databases is real time or near real time data, while the data which is going to the data lake is more little bit buffered because as you know, I cannot stream data into a data lake because if I get millions of small Parquet files, this would work very well,
Yeah.
right?
That's
So
that's been one of my points of confusion
exactly,
is they talk about everything's in one lake. It's the one ring to rule them
yeah,
all, and we're doing Parquet,
yeah,
column compressed, and then it's like, but what about event streams? And that's such the
yeah,
incompatible, oil and water. So that
y-
makes more sense to me that it is kind
yeah.
of its own thing and it's optimized for that.
So so what you can do is you can put data into the data lake as well, but in if you do this, then the data is buffered for a little while and it will not show up instantly. So
Right.
because it's just collecting data, and if there is a big enough amount of data, then it will create a Parquet file of this, right? So you
Yeah.
can do this. You can do this as well. And the other thing, what you could do is on top of the data which is in your KQL database, you can build real-time dashboards. And these real-time dashboards are not built with Power BI.
Okay.
So
Are they
this
good
is
this
a
time?
yeah, well, yeah, apparently yes, because
Okay.
Microsoft deprecated the Power BI. How were they called?
It
The
was like real-time reports or
R
real-time streams.
n
I forget the
n
name, but I know
re
what you're
yeah,
talking about.
yes, yeah, exactly. And, I I had a, interesting thing with this, when I was testing this. So, there was one time when we did like a BI Power Hour in at the SQL conference in Germany, right?
Okay, sure.
And, I think it was in 2018, and I was looking at the well, Power BI streaming data sets. There
That's
you
it.
go.
Yes, yes.
Yes. And I was looking at the Power BI streaming data sets and I was thinking about what we could do is you remember back in the days when we had these stereo decks with the graphic equalizers, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And I thought about, well, it would be nice if we build this with Power BI with a streaming data set. Then I did this with Ben Kettner, and for sure we selected a metal song. We selected "Fear of the Dark" of Iron Maiden, and what I did is I put it on a website, and this website was doing a frequency analysis of this
Okay.
and sending all the data to Power BI streaming data sets. And the first thing, and because I don't know anything about frequency analysis or stuff, but the first thing when I put the data set to Power BI streaming data sets, first thing Power BI streaming data sets was, oops, this is too much data. So, well, it's a
Of
it's a
course,
song.
yes.
Okay. So next thing I did is I was thinking about, okay, we want bus anyway, so I will build buckets, right? So I had some buckets. And then I sent this bucket data, and Power
Yeah.
BI streaming data set said, "Whoops, this is too much data." I was, what? And then I was broadening the buckets a little bit, and I was ingesting some time in between and stuff like this, and finally it worked. And it was really nice because we could play the song, and then we saw how the bars were moving up and down. Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool use for Power BI.
I was
Um,
never impressed with the feature set because well, I had heard things like what you talked about, but the fact was everyone would do the, like, quintessential demo of, "Oh, well, I can hook up Power Automate to Twitter, and every time someone says the word, like, manatee,
yeah, yeah.
whatever." But the problem was it was very limited how much interaction you could have with the rest of the data model.
Yes,
So if
exactly.
you wanted, like, a little stock ticker or something, it was fine, but if you wanted to integrate with the rest of the port, it just never really worked, it seemed
Exactly,
like.
exactly. And the other thing was that the visualization options were very limited as well. And it's
Okay,
fun that
sure.
you talk about the Twitter example, because this is exactly the example I put into our Power BI für Dummies book. I wrote with Oliver Engels, Tilman Eitelberg, and Wolfgang
Yeah.
Strasser in German. And it's exactly this example I put in there for the streaming data sets, right? And yeah, but yeah, but on the other hand, what was really impressive with all the services that time, that you can easily do like a sentiment analysis on Twitter in maybe 15 minutes or something. What that was impressive. But yeah, but the Power BI, the not the Power BI, sorry, the real-time intelligence dashboards are more more capable than the streaming data sets and streaming dashboards in Power BI were. So first of all, it's real time. So what is ingested into your database is displayed on the dashboard. And the other thing is that there are very many visualization options as well. So there are not only simple ones like
Mhm.
a curve, or like a bar chart or something like this. You can
Yeah.
even do more complex ones, like for example map visualizations and stuff like this, which is really neat. And and the other thing is that you can use it, for example, if you have a factory floor or something, and you would like to hang up a big screen and everyone can see progress or something like this. You could use this for this as well, which is pretty neat. And the other thing, which is also very interesting about KQL and KQL databases, is that you could use or that you can process data as it streams in, and you can do
Okay.
this with so-called update policies. And an update policy you can think of, so an update policy is like a function which is bound to a table, and this function will be executed whenever data is ingested into the table. And don't think about a trigger. Well, it works like a
Played, yeah.
so it works like a trigger, but on the other hand, it's different,
It
right?
doesn't have the
But
performance issues, I hope,
no,
yeah.
no, 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 no. So but what it does is, whenever data comes in, this data is transformed for whatever you do in
Yeah.
your function, and then you can write it back to another table. And so you can write like a data flow within your KQL database, right? Which is very neat as well. Yes, and this is how these things are combined. Maybe another thing I can talk about. I think you probably recognize that at Build 2024, real-time analytics was renamed in real-time intelligence. Do you know why?
I actually do not know.
Okay. So what they did is, so when before this, there was, on the one hand, there was a real-time intelligence, and on the other hand, there was data activator, right?
Yes, I
And data
remember data
activator,
activator and all that, yeah.
yes, yes, yes. So data activator is a functionality of Fabric where you can act on data. So so what you could do is you can monitor data, and whenever data, for example, goes over a certain threshold or goes below a certain threshold or whatever, you can facilitate action from this. It could be simple action like writing an email or
Yeah.
having a Teams message or stuff like this. But on the other hand, you can also have complex actions like, for example, having things like executing a notebook or executing a Power Automate flow or stuff like this, right? So, and this is an interesting thing, so that you can not only process your data in real time, but you can also act on your data in real time. Because um, if you only could process on the data, how should this work, right? In this case, you should have people sitting in front of a monitor 24/7, and if something
Mm.
happens and they do something, and I think this is not really feasible. So what they did is they built this data activator, and data activator can act upon the data in your real time solution. And the shift from real time analytics to real time intelligence was made by putting real time analytics and data activator together.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
yeah, so you have not only the real-time analytics part, but also the part which can act on this data, right? Like the data activator part. And
Yeah.
so this is what's real-time intelligence is about.
So I have a question about that
Yes.
actually, because so have you ever done anything at all with Kafka or Azure Event Hubs?
Uh,
It's fine
not
if
with
not.
Kafka, not with Kafka, but with Azure Event Hubs. Yes.
Okay.
So
So I
yes,
did a course on Azure Event Hubs, and
yes.
I think there's certain things with that and Kafka that make sense that I was trying in my head to apply to
Hmm?
real-time intelligence that
Yeah.
doesn't make as much sense here. And so what you're talking about, it's starting to help it click for me because when I think about event streaming, I'm thinking more about the goal being to have a decoupled architecture with like pub sub kind of
Hmm?
any number, and to
Yeah.
have something where those events are more like business transactions
Hmm?
or like business events. And so that
Yeah.
what you're talking about with activator starts to get some of there, but something more where like an event is not a single log line from an Azure
Hmm?
machine, but an event is an invoice or a
Yes.
purchase
Yeah.
or something that's driving the business. And part of the reason that you do this weird immutable architecture, decoupled pub sub kind of thing is because maybe you're a startup and you're doing microservices
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
And so what you're talking about is making more sense because the real-time analytics piece is totally different. It's about there you have these big volumes of data that have a latency aspect
Yes.
and you're trying to get the needle in the haystack. And so you need
Mhm.
some way to do that. And so
Yeah,
then KQL makes sense.
yeah,
But then you're talking
and
about activator and suddenly, okay, now, like you said, maybe we can run stuff whenever
mhm,
someone makes a purchase
exactly,
or something.
exactly.
Okay.
So not only this, Eugene, what you could do as well is you can monitor the fabric itself through KQL and through
Right.
real-time intelligence. So, for example, what you could do is you can grab all of the events that Fabric is producing and maybe analyze for. Probably you have a notebook with a PySpark code in it or something like
Yeah.
this, and this notebook fails. And what you could do then is, if this notebook fails, then you can maybe do some action to you. Let's think about this, and this is a made up example, but
Yeah.
let's think about this. You have another notebook who can repair what fails in the first notebook, right? And so what you could do is you could just start, if you recognize that the first notebook fails, you could just start the second notebook that will repair whatever
Yeah.
should be repaired or stuff like this. So this is another interesting thing as well what you could do, right? And so as you said, you have experience with event streams and stuff like this, right? So
Yeah.
I think if you do this in Azure, it's rather cumbersome and very technical, right? To set up stuff like to work like this, right?
Yeah. It depends a
And
lot what you're working with. I feel if it's been like 6 years, but the
Yeah.
UI for streaming analytics wasn't too bad, but the moment you're doing like event hubs or something,
Yes.
it's quite
Yeah.
technical. And in addition
S
to that, there's stuff that's hidden. And so what I
Mhm.
mean is, in order to provide Kafka support,
Yeah.
I think there's like a hidden topic that
Mhm.
you can connect to and all this kind of stuff. And so
Yeah.
you have to understand that. You have to understand your message size limits, your batching,
Mhm. Mhm.
all
Mhm.
this stuff where it is very technical. There's a lot of knobs, and if you aren't aware of them, it's not gonna function for you.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that real-time intelligence and the event streams are more like, for example, things you did with SSIS or with Azure Data
Okay.
Factory. You have your different boxes, which represent different things in your data stream, and you can just connect them. And you can even do within the event streams, you can even do stuff like, for example, filter events and stuff like
Okay.
this. For example, so this is an example we did through all the precons I was involved, and there is also
Mhm.
a similar example that will be in the book that Johan and I write on the topic, which is about that you get a stream of events, and the stream
Uh-huh.
of events is different. So you get in one stream you get different events, and you would like to split this different and under the hood, it's all JSON, right? But what you would like to do is you would like to split these different events into different tables within your KQL database, right?
Right.
And
Yeah. Of course.
this is something you can do right in the event stream. So the event stream is just analyzing the event which comes in, and then you can just send it either to this table or to the other table, right? And
I
stuff like
I'd
this.
assumed I was gonna have to just write a lot of KQL, quite honestly. I
No,
didn't realize
no,
there
no,
was a
no,
UI
no,
component.
no, no,
Okay.
no, no. There is a UI component, and this is only drag and drop. So this
That's
is
awesome.
this
Yeah.
is yeah, yeah. This is do you have also if you publish this, do you have like that we can post a link or something? Then I can give you a link where the
Yeah,
tutorial on this is, and
we'll
you can
have, show notes, so
show
I'll
notes.
circle
Okay,
back
yeah,
with you, but we'll have show notes, so we
okay,
can link
awesome.
whatever you want
Yeah,
to.
yeah. What I can do is I can link the tutorial that we did in the precons, and
Oh,
in
awesome.
this tutorial you will see and you will actually build an event stream, and you will see how to do this filter thing, right? So and this is a cool thing. So it's rather easy, and what you can do, as I said, I'm not a Kafka expert at all. And at least
Yeah.
I know the name and I know a little bit what this does, but I'm not an expert on this. But what
Yeah.
you could do is you can integrate Kafka into a real-time intelligence as well.
Oh,
So
nice.
if you have
Yeah.
something Kafka thing, then you can just integrate this
Yeah,
into
it's the gold standard, just like how
yeah,
MongoDB is like,
yeah, yeah,
for document DB and stuff.
exactly, exactly.
Um, so, a quick question, you talked about some of the, like, governance kinda stuff. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the impression I always seem to get from Chris Webb blog posts about Power BI logging is it seems like Microsoft is giving you these tools, but you're gonna
Yes.
have to build all of this stuff right now. Is that correct? Or are there templates out there for kinda, like, using KQL
So
and log analytics for
mm,
governance?
there is yeah, you have to build so it depends on
Yeah.
where you work, right?
Okay, sure.
So if you work with log analytics, there are some templates and some pre built notebooks and stuff like this.
Okay.
On the other hand, there is if we look in the direction of system administrators and people like this, right? Who worked much earlier with KQL than the data space did, right? So
Yeah.
if we look in their direction, there is I will find it out when you get the show
Yeah, we'll
notes,
put it
but
in the
there is a
notes. Don't worry.
yeah,
This isn't coming out
but
till
yeah,
February. We got time.
yeah,
Yeah.
but there is a really really cool website where you can get thousands and thousands of KQL queries that will grab different things
Oh, that's
from
awesome.
your
Yeah.
logs. Yeah, yeah. And the other thing, where KQL comes into play as well is with threat analytics and stuff like this, because it's also the language of Azure Sentinel. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, you know Azure Sentinel,
I've
right?
heard
Or
the
should I?
name. I'm
You heard
vaguely
the name,
for the
okay?
audience, not for me.
Okay,
Explain what Azure
yeah, yeah,
Sentinel is.
okay. So Azure Sentinel is a Microsoft solution for it's a security solution for analyzing threats and for analyzing attacks and stuff like this.
Got it.
And uh, whatever Azure Sentinel is logging is also logged into a KQL database. And
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
if you want to and it can do crazy stuff. It can do countermeasures, and then it can do reverse attacks, and I don't know.
Sure.
I'm not a security expert as well, but
Yep.
mm, but mm, everything which is recorded by this can be also created from KQL, right? And so this is, and the other thing which is very interested. I did some things on this, and I'm in close connection, in close conversation with Henning Rauch, who is PM on this. Hi, Henning. Is So what you can do, and they extended KQL a little bit with graph semantics. They did this
Okay.
2 years ago. So what you could do is you can build a graph database on top of your tables within your KQL
Huh.
database. And then you can
Okay.
use this graph database for easily retrieving, or easily, well, it depends a little bit. But Henning and
Yeah.
I always have a little fight about if SQL or if graph syntax is a little bit easier to read. And I was like, graph syntax to me looks like some alien
Yeah.
notation or something. But um, but anyway, so graph databases are known for that. You can, if it's important to you to have the relationships between assets, right? Then graph
Yeah. Yeah.
databases are much more capable than relational databases, and so they have this graph model in KQL as well. And so so you can use this, for example, to traverse a graph and to see, for example, if you're thinking about an attacker, you can see how the attacker is going through your network through the graph.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the cool thing is, and this is something which makes KQL stand out here a little bit, is that in KQL you can have time dependent graphs, because the graphs move over time,
Mm.
because KQL is a time series
Right.
database, right? And this is another very interesting thing. But Eugene, we talked so much about KQL, right? And maybe our viewers or our listeners do not have no idea how KQL looks like or stuff like this. So maybe I can just give you an example. So
Give the
KQL,
elevator pitch. Let's do two
yeah,
minutes and then we gotta wrap up.
yeah, okay. The elevator pitches at KQL looks a little bit like, for example, M. So, or
Okay.
like
Sure.
R. So what you're doing is you're working with data frames, and the data frames are passed from line to line. So
Hmm.
it works like a funnel, right? So first
Yep.
of all, you have your table, and then you say, well, from this table, I only want the data sets who have this and this property, and then you can just funnel your data down, and it's yeah, if you're used to SQL, it might be a little bit difficult, but there is another thing which I can highly recommend, and it is the KQL Detective Agency. Have you
I've
have you
I've heard
heard
good
of
things
them?
about that. I haven't tried it, but I've heard good things about
Okay,
that.
you should. It's awesome. So
Yeah.
the thing is, just to wrap up this here a little bit. So the thing is, you are faced with some criminal cases, right? And
Yep.
what you should do, and you have the criminal case. You're like a detective, and you have a data set, and
Yep.
then you should solve the case upon this data set by just finding out. And the thing is, in distinction, for example, to Power BI dashboard in a day, it's not like a click through thing. You have to find your own solution for this. The
Yeah.
only thing is, to test this is, there is a like an input box, and in this input box you should put in the result, right? Like 42, for example, but 42 is not right. But
Yeah.
anyway, so you just put in the result, and it will just say, well, it's okay, it's right, or no, it's wrong, and it will not say why or something like this. And the very
Yeah.
the very
That's great.
best experience, I ever had was, I was just gathering some people of my company, and we did this together as a team, and it was so cool.
Oh, that's fun.
So if you're into games or stuff like this is really, really, it's one of the best learning experiences, because even if you run maybe half an hour in the complete wrong direction, thought wise, right?
Yeah.
it you just learn something with this, and it's really cool. So I can highly recommend the Cake Girl Detective
That's
Agency.
awesome. We'll definitely include a link. So
Yes.
to wrap up, let's what's your most favorite and least favorite fabric features?
So most favorites for sure, it's real time intelligence.
I'm shocked.
So no, this comes to a surprise. Yes, well, mm, so the least favorite fabric
Yeah.
feature is it's a hard one
It's
because
fine if you don't have an answer. I know, like
um
so I just had an episode with
uh,
Ginger and hers was like DevOps pipelines because of just some of the
yes,
ways
yeah,
they work and the
probably developer. Yeah, this is true. I think they can improve this
yeah.
much, but yeah, probably this. Yes.
All right, you can steal her notes. That works.
Yeah.
Um, so there's way too many social media networks. Where can people find you? And is there anything you want to promote? You mentioned a book.
Peop-
You mentioned
Yeah.
a conference or two.
Yeah, so people can find me at the internet. I think it's not too hard if
Yeah,
you look
yeah,
for
yeah.
Frank Geisler. So we can,
Just Bing for Frank Geisler.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So no, so you can find me on LinkedIn, and we can include the link as well in the show
Yep,
notes. And
absolutely.
maybe be not shocked about, maybe I have to change the picture there because it doesn't look like
Yeah,
me at
it
all.
was a little jarring at past summit because you look very young and attractive, and then now you got scruff like me, and yeah,
I think actually, Eugene, I think now I'm looking younger than on the picture. On the picture, I'm looking like a guy who wants to sell you some insurance or some used
yeah,
car or stuff like
yeah,
this.
right,
But maybe, yeah, but maybe I have to. I just have to change the picture.
yeah,
So
yeah,
and the stuff to promote. So next year there will be a book out, which is from O'Reilly about real time intelligence. The book I write this book with a very good friend of mine, with Johan Brothers. Hi,
yeah,
Johan.
nice.
And another thing, yeah, well, I'm on multiple conferences. So one of the next big ones is the FabCon in Vegas. I will do a pre-con with another good friend of mine, with Kevin Chant.
That's
We
awesome.
will talk. We will talk about certification. So how to get fabric certified, and we will talk about DP 600 and DP 700. And maybe a last thing at the moment, I'm working on a PowerShell module for real-time intelligence. So what you could do is you can use the PowerShell module to automate real-time intelligence. So it's at the moment it's a very small project I'm working on, but I have a lot of fun there, and I try to improve it over time, right? And
Yeah,
maybe I have one or two guys who like to contribute as well. So, and I've never done like a project like this.
yeah,
I can learn a lot about Gits. I can learn a lot about writing PowerShell modules. So I'm very knowledgeable PowerShell guy. I do this like for over 10 years now, but I've never written a module that is published to the internet or published to the PowerShell gallery or
yeah.
stuff like this, right? And we will put the link also into the
We'll have all of it.
description.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Cool.
Awesome.
Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you for your time, Frank.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was nice to talk to you, and I had lots of fun.